Please, please, will someone help me? 6-year-old Miranda's voice trembled as she stepped into the biker bar, her eyes wide with fear. In her tiny hands, she held a crumpled $10 bill, all the money she had left. The air inside the iron horse bar was thick with cigarette smoke, the hum of chatter and clinking glasses filling the dimly lit space. The bikers, they were in their usual routine, laughing and exchanging stories that had no place in the outside world. But when Miranda spoke, everything came to a screeching halt. Can someone please kill my mom's boyfriend for me? The bar went silent. Every set of eyes turned toward the small girl standing in the doorway. The entire room held its breath. Missoura, the leader of the gang, was the first to move. He was a massive figure, covered in tattoos, with a voice that rumbled like distant thunder. He leaned forward from his seat, eyes narrowing, studying Miranda. He simply stood up, his eyes still fixed on Miranda. He could see the bruises on her arms, the way her clothes hung loosely around her small frame, and the tremor in her hands as she held out the money. This wasn't a joke. This was a desperate plea for help. "Where's your mom?" Missoura asked, his voice softening slightly. "Where's this boyfriend of hers?" Miranda swallowed hard. "He lives at the cabin on Maple Road, the blue one, about 2 miles from here." "Why do you want us to kill him?" Snake asked, his voice hard but with a touch of curiosity. "Why come to us for this?" Miranda's lip quivered, but she steeled herself before speaking. He hurts her. He beats her when he drinks. And tonight he said he was going to kill her. He said she deserves it because she's a druggie and she's worthless. Please, please help me." Missoura reached out and gently took Miranda's hand. He glanced at Tank, the biggest of the bikers, who was already headed for the door. Tank was ready to act, but Missoura stopped him with a sharp motion. "Wait!" Missoura commanded, his voice low and serious. "This kid's walked 2 miles in the dark. That means she's got no one else to turn to." Snake, the sharp-tongued one, was the first to speak up. "So, what's the plan, boss?" Missoura's face hardened. He turned to Doc, a member of the gang who wasn't really a doctor but had been a paramedic. "Doc, check on her. This girl's been through hell." Doc nodded, pushing through the bikers to approach Miranda. "Let me take a look at those bruises, kid," he said gently, his eyes softening as he inspected her injuries. As Doc checked Miranda over, his face paled. "Broken ribs," he muttered, inspecting her tenderly. "Possibly internal bleeding. She's not just been beaten, she's been tortured." Missoura's jaw clenched, but he quickly took control of the room again, pushing his anger aside. "Call Scar," Missoura ordered. "We need a plan." The ride to Zeke's cabin felt like the longest journey of Miranda's life. The sound of the bikers' engines was deafening as they sped through the dark night. Missoura's focus never wavered. Missoura and the bikers pulled up to Zeke's cabin. They could see the flashing lights of police cars and the ambulances in the distance. As the bikers approached the scene, Miranda stayed close behind Missoura, her small frame barely visible in the shadow of his leather jacket. Zeke was sitting on the porch of the cabin, his face in his hands, sobbing. A picture of fake remorse. The police had already secured the area, and Zeke was in handcuffs, his eyes red from crying, acting as though he had just lost the love of his life. Missoura approached the sheriff, his face hardening as he assessed the situation. "What happened?" Sheriff Johnson looked up, clearly tired. "Zeke's story is that Miranda's mom, Kayla, overdosed on drugs. She fell down the stairs and hit her head. He claims it was an accident." Missoura narrowed his eyes. "And the cops are buying this?" Johnson sighed. "Zeke's claiming she was using again. No one's questioning the story yet. It's been ruled as an accidental overdose. We're still processing the scene." Miranda's heart shattered as she watched the scene unfold. She ran toward Zeke, her voice breaking. "You killed her! You killed my mom!" Her small fists pounded against his chest, but Zeke just stood there, unaffected. Zeke, in the midst of his fake sorrow, looked down at Miranda with a feigned expression of sadness. "I'm sorry, kid. You don't know what she's like." Miranda could hardly stand it. "You're lying! You killed her!" she shouted, but her words fell on deaf ears. Missoura grabbed her gently but firmly. "Come on, kid. Let's step back." As the bikers stood back, they couldn't help but feel the fire of rage burning inside them. Zeke's manipulation was obvious, but the police were already starting to accept his version of events. It was the same old story. The victim was the one who got blamed, and the abuser walked free. The following day, Zeke was released from jail. His charming, manipulative act had worked, at least for now. The police had ruled the death as an accidental overdose, and he was no longer in custody. Zeke wasted no time in making his next move. He went straight to child services with an air of false sympathy. He claimed he was Miranda's only remaining family. He played the role of the grieving boyfriend who just wanted to take care of Miranda. making it seem like she'd be better off with him than in the system. Zeke, standing in front of the social worker, Lucy, spoke with feigned concern. I know Miranda's been through a lot. She's like a daughter to me. I don't want her in foster care. I want to take her home with me. I'll take care of her like my own. Lucy, the social worker, looked uncertain but nodded. I understand, Mr. Zeke, but given the circumstances, I'll need to get approval from the authorities before any decisions are made. Zeke smiled like a man who had already won. I'm doing this for her, he insisted. I don't want her to end up in the system. I'm the only family she has left. Meanwhile, Miranda was sitting in the waiting area, her eyes filled with defiance. She wasn't going to let Zeke win. Not now. Not ever. The social worker, Lucy, approached her gently, sitting down next to her. Miranda, she began softly. Zeke says he's going to take you in. He wants to look after you. Wouldn't that be nice? Miranda shook her head, her eyes wide with panic. No, I don't want to go with him. He's not my family. Lucy's eyebrows furrowed with concern. But he's the only family you have left, sweetie. He's the one who can take care of you now. Miranda looked at her hands, her fingers trembling. He hurt my mom. He's a bad man. I don't want to go with him. I want to stay with the bikers. They promised they'd keep me safe. They're good. Lucy was taken aback. The bikers, she repeated, clearly unsure of what Miranda meant. Miranda, you need to listen to me. They're dangerous people. They're not the ones you should be trusting. Miranda stood up quickly, shaking her head in desperation. No, please. They're the only ones who care about me. They promised to keep me safe. I don't want to go with him. I want to stay with them. Lucy was silent for a moment, looking at Miranda's tear-streaked face. Okay, she said quietly. I'll make a call. Back at the Iron Horse bar, Missouri was seething. He knew that Zeke was manipulating the situation, but he also knew that Miranda wasn't safe as long as that man was in the picture. The heavy door of the Iron Horse bar swung open with a groan as the bikers entered, the low murmur of their conversation fading as Miranda stepped through. Her face, though still marked by the trauma she'd suffered, was a little less shadowed now. She was safe in their world. Missouri watched her closely as she took a seat at the bar. The bikers gathered around, their faces grim. The events of the past few days had worn them all down. They had rescued Miranda from child services, ensuring she was no longer at the mercy of the system, which had failed her for so long. Zeke's conviction had seemed like the final blow to his reign of terror, but the legal system had failed them. The police had closed the case. Kayla's death was officially ruled an overdose, an accident. No one had questioned it further. Zeke had gotten away with murder. As the bikers sat, frustration and helplessness hung in the air like smoke. Snake ran his fingers through his hair, his anger barely contained. What now? He muttered. The police won't do anything. We can't go after him without something to back us up. Missouri looked down at his drink, deep in thought. The bikers had done their part. They had protected Miranda, but the system was still failing her. Zeke had slipped through the cracks. There had to be more they could do. They couldn't just let it end like this. As the room fell into a somber silence, Miranda shifted in her seat, her voice small but cutting through the tension. I have something, she said, her hands trembling as she pulled out an old phone from her backpack. The room went quiet, all eyes on her. Missouri leaned forward, his expression softening. What's that, kid? He asked gently, knowing that Miranda had been through more than anyone should endure. My real dad gave me this phone before he died. He told me to record everything bad that happened. And I did, she whispered, her voice breaking as she looked at the phone. I didn't know if it would matter. But I think it does now. She handed the phone to Missouri, who quickly turned it on. The room was still as they watched the small screen. The bikers crowded closer, their eyes scanning the video recordings that Miranda had captured over months, of Zeke's abuse. Each video revealed a darker truth. Zeke's physical and emotional violence, his threats to Kayla, and his constant verbal abuse towards Miranda. The time-stamped videos showed clear evidence of domestic violence that couldn't be ignored. There were moments where Zeke mocked Kayla for her weight, for her weakness. In one chilling moment, he could be heard threatening to put her down for good, if with the missing link, the piece of the puzzle that would open up a whole new investigation. Missouri made the call to the prosecutor and the local detective, insisting that the case be reopened. He made it clear that they would not stand idly by while Zeke got away with murder. We've got him, Missouri said firmly on the phone. We've got the proof. No more excuses. We need this case reopened. The bikers made sure Miranda was safe. Zeke was behind bars, but there were still powerful men with connections who wouldn't let it go. However, the bikers were determined. They weren't about to let Miranda slip through their fingers. Missouri, who had promised to protect her, did more than that. He adopted her, officially making her part of the biker family. Miranda wasn't just a child of the streets anymore. She was family, one of the bikers. Months passed. Miranda went to school, made friends, and slowly began to see a future that wasn't clouded by fear. She wasn't the broken little girl who had walked into the bar with $10 in her pocket. She had grown stronger, more confident, and the bikers stood proudly behind her every step of the way. Her bond with Missouri was unbreakable. He had become the father she had never known, the protector she had never had. The bikers weren't just people she lived with, they were her family. One night, as Missouri sat across from her at the bar, watching her laugh with the other bikers, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This wasn't just about protecting her anymore. It was about watching her thrive. "You're something else, kid," Missouri said, his voice full of affection. "I never thought I'd see the day when you'd be standing tall like this." Miranda smiled, but there was something deeper behind her eyes. "I never thought I'd get here either. But you guys—" She paused, glancing around at the bikers who had become her family. "You gave me a chance. You gave me a life I didn't think I could have." "You earned it," Missouri replied, his tone softening. "You showed us all what real strength is." Miranda smiled, her eyes glinting with newfound determination. "Those $10 were worth more than money. They bought me an army of guardian angels who looked like demons." Missouri chuckled softly, then raised his glass. "We'll always have your back, kid. No one touches you, not on my watch." As the years passed, Miranda grew into a young woman with a future ahead of her. She had dreams, ambitions. She wasn't just a survivor. She was someone who made things happen. Her life was no longer defined by the darkness she had lived through. It was now defined by strength, love, and family. The bikers had not only protected Miranda, they had given her a chance at a future. A future where she could be strong and independent, someone who didn't just survive, but thrived. With Zeke behind bars and Miranda safe, the bikers proved that sometimes the most dangerous men made the best protectors. Miranda's life was no longer defined by fear and loss. It was shaped by strength, family, and the promise that, no matter what, the bikers would always be there.